of lying about that evening. Clips begin to circulate within minutes. Users go back. Screenshots are shared. Threads grow in number. Viewers start piecing things together. A birthday celebration that wasn't quite a party. Injuries that were publicly detailed but never clarified, and a night that constantly shifts to pelling it. Funky then moves the frame. He doesn't dispute emotions. He puts the night back together. Restaurants, transportation, and who showed up, who sat where, without warning. Who didn't go upstairs, and you were a bold-faced person when he did so, because I'm telling you straight to your face. Goddamn bald-headed liar. Explains his failure to pursue Tamar home. The temperance. Funky because Tamar and Mendeecees were sharing a kiss in the car. At that point, the internet begins to monitor movement rather than debate tone. Because misunderstanding is no longer a part of the narrative. It has to do with it concerns silence and the assertion that they are unaware of what transpired, while declining an ambulance. It's depicting blood and allowing conjecture to consume everyone in their vicinity. Make a comment about his homeboy. All right, so this is the third time that you and I have hung together. Mendeecees appears out of nowhere. All right, you can now tell her whatever comes up in the comments. Some stand up for Tamar, while others support Funky. But nearly everyone observes the same thing. There is one name that keeps coming up, won't go away, and one person hasn't said anything. I didn't drive my car over the sauce if anyone knows what happened above. Zoe calls and says, Tamar said, just leave your car at her house and we're going to V12. By the time I grabbed the exhaust, I didn't even want to go see him. And once that realization sets in, this becomes far more hazardous than a messy fallout. Because the internet doesn't wait for explanations when stories don't add up. It creates pressure. Funky then slows down the narrative until it is no longer able to conceal itself. He doesn't follow Tamar's feelings or make assumptions about her motivations. He breaks down the time frame she presented and substitutes a logistically sound one. Where they called whom, and the actual course of the evening. The speech is methodical and quiet. It indicates that there won't be a reaction. It's memory. And that distinction is important because Tamar's hesitation starts to appear more like insulation than bewilderment. As soon as he reframes the night, he begins by categorically denying the basis of her interview, the birthday party story, the notion that her giving to her focal point of the evening. Funky claims that this framing is not only erroneous but also deliberate. He clarifies that Tamar and Zoe phoned him in search of a place to dine around was closed, and that he recommended Ruth's Chris as a last resort. The evening started off as a convenience rather than an occasion. And that particular aspect weakens the emotional weight that is later attached to it right away. The first coincidence then occurs. At all a coincidence, according to one Funky Mendeecees, and a companion enter as soon as he gets there. It is by Key. He makes no accusations. Key simply, this wasn't the first right? Funky observes Mendeecees' unexpected appearance during several hangouts were altered by a single observation. I didn't play it, but you mentioned a pool of blood. You indicated in this interview you were at home with David or someone else when they said, we need. You responded, no. No. Plausibility is eliminated by repetition. One unexpected appearance may be the result of chance. 3 begins to resemble a pattern, and Funky lets the audience figure it out on their own. The night splinters into motion from their dot plans alter. Fatigue sets in. Funky claims that although the others chose to continue, he wanted to return home. Saw and Buckhead first, followed by V12, because it creates a choosing point. Even that change is significant. Funky makes it obvious that he was unwilling to go on. He was a distinct driver. Reroute was resisted by him. Nevertheless, he was wanted to ride with them instead of abandoning his automobile. Funky talks about being told to get out of his automobile and go somewhere else. Because I assumed she and Mendeecees wanted to be up there alone after they finished kissing in the back of that fucking car. I didn't go upstairs when we were dropped off at Tamar's place because of this. You were sitting on his lap in that goddamn Uber with your ass kissing. So I hopped into my stupid car and drove home. All right, and I was really uncomfortable. Isolation is insignificant. Given the situation, it's someone who walked upstairs with you is Mendeecees and his best friend. I'm not sure if someone is guiding the night's flow or making sure they are close. Additionally, as Funky narrates it, Tamar's account of going home carelessly and falling consciousness sounds staged rather than natural. The discomfort he cumulative rather than abrupt. He describes how he frequently saw Tamar at eateries while filming a song video. In circumstances when acknowledges unequivocally that he was never at ease with their relationship, not because of rumors, but rather what he saw in front of him. Man once more refrains from making accusations. The dots by the thin she reached its climax by the time they're in the car returning to Tamar's. Here, Funky doesn't speak out. He doesn't embellish. Explanation for not going upstairs in a single terrible punishment. Funky go upstairs because Tamar and Mendeecees were kissing in the car at that same moment, which reorients everything because up until that point, discourse their Funky had abandoned a friend. Whether he had failed to protect her, whether his negligence was suggested by absence. However, his reasoning completely reverses. Didn't depart since he wasn't concerned. He thought they wanted privacy, so he departed. And that belief is important because it contradicts itself. Tamar's subsequent depiction of perplexion. One crucial point is made clear by Funky's account. Tamar wasn't by, not socially, not emotionally, and not physically, he said, because it's the image hits hard when he says she was sitting on the Uber. Appropriateness is not debated by viewers. They are coexist with the assertion that they were unaware afterward. At that point, the online breakdown. Commenters cease in after being wronged by Funky. Tamar began to wonder who else was there and why their presence hadn't been acknowledged. What transpired upstairs is not mentioned by Funky. He mentions, albeit he takes care not to. According to Funky, Mendeecees and they went upstairs with his companion. Because proximity, Tamar later recounts blood and a reluctance to call an ambulance. That line becomes the rest of the discourse revolves. Funky re-examines their asserting their coherence rather than making fun of them. He remembers Tamar telling him that she nearly died when she woke up in a pool of blood. Contrasts that with her acknowledgement that she turned down a emergency services. Funky why she declined an ambulance after saying she was on the verge of death. It is not implied that nothing occurred. It's that the individual who experienced it didn't handle it like an emergency. And that encourages conjecture because Tamar leaves it. Not because Funky creates it. When the internet starts adding interpretations to monologue as it spreads, viewers draw attention to the gaps, the lack of an explanation for the injuries, the quick recovery, the subsequent weird references, lack of names in Tamar's account combined with Funky's inaccuracy. And in that void, ideas arise as attempts to address. Realities. Public language of the title emerge. Areas not from the text itself, but rather from the reactions of those who read it. Actions and reposts contain references to health tests, rumored reports, and worst-case scenarios. These are always presented as assertions rather than verifications. Funky never says those things. However, they have a surface to adhere to thanks to his meticulous restoration. Yandy is the target of pressure instead of only Tamar near the end of his story. Reluctantly mentions her. According to Funky, Yandy was the only one harmed. Another line of inquiry is set off by just because someone close to Yandy would have crossed a line if she had been wronged. And if that line was crossed on a night of mysterious indirected plans and concealment. Then stillness starts to resemble containment more than dignity. The dissolution of certainty marks the end of Section 1. Funky doesn't make any criminal claims, are not confirmed by him. He doesn't explain what transpired upstairs. His actions are much more unstable. He determines who departed and who subsequently said they had no idea. Additionally, the story knows to any one person after those coordinates are established. It is the internet discussion shifts from being about emotion to being about exposure. Once Funky has finished outlining who was, where, and when, three are no longer points of contention among viewers. Isolating discrepancies, not the same unresolved issues that Tamar first now presented in a more negative way. Her own admission that she didn't know what had happened. Her public